tell us the story from the circus when you were 7 years old, 10 years old?
No, it was actually 10 years old. 10 years old. It was a bizarre experience, but and a life changing one. But this is in Burton-on-Trent. Those that don't know Burton-on-Trent, it's like right in the middle of the UK. It's like there's no, it's a land. We're land based. There's no sea for miles around, and so it was a boiling hot day. 10 years old. Someone came knocking on the door. It was my brother's. It was my brother's best mate, and he came around asking if we wanted to go swimming. Mum was like, "Yep, couldn't wait to get us out of her hair," and then we set off. And as we got down to the swimming baths, we actually saw that the Big Top was setting up in town, and we're like, "Wow, the Chipperfield Circus is in town! Amazing!" So excited young boys. We like our walk turned into a run, and before we knew it, down at the Big Tops, and saw the first guy down there. Said, "Look, can we have a look around?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "We're just setting up. There's animals out, but they're on chains. You'll be okay." And that's it. We went into the Big Top. And I can remember I got separated from my brother and his mate, and there, I don't know what drew me towards it, but on the other side there was an opening, and I was sort of drawn to that opening. And as I got to it, the sun hit me in the eyes. I couldn't see for a moment, and then as my vision cleared, there it was, sat in front of me, about 10, 15 meters away, was something that just amazed me, and I was absolutely compelled to go towards, and that was a baby chimp. And before I knew it, I walked over cautiously, and there it was. For me, I brought up with Tarzan, Johnny Wiseman, black and white films, and for me, that was a little piece of Hollywood sat right there. It was amazing. And next thing, I'm stood over it, 10 years old, and it looked up at me with these beautiful eyes, and it was a moment we connected. And it sounds weird, I know. But we connected, and it was just surreal. Baby chimp goes down, picks up some food off the floor, starts passing it to me, and I'm like, "Wow, this is a male." I felt like a miniature, like David Attenborough, and so I thought, "Gee, I'm not eating that; it's disgusting." So I was just going through the motions, throwing it over my shoulder, and it probably only went on for 20, 30 seconds, but it seemed like a lifetime. I was brought up with cats and dogs. This was a chimp. Middle of the UK, a chimp. And all of a sudden, it was a beautiful blue skies, and the serenity of that moment was cut like a fighter jet racing through the sky as I heard this roar. And I'll never forget it. I can still hear the roar to this day. Heard this roar, and in the shadows under a truck behind the chimp, I could see something moving. And those shadows, that movement, then became clearly what was about a 50 kilo. I don't know. I don't know what size it was, but I didn't get a chance to weigh it, but it was bloody big. And it was the mother. It was the mother. Is the baby, the chimp's mother. Which then Mach 10 started coming at me. The old sideways chimp movement. Yeah, exactly. Just raging, absolutely raging. And I'm like a deer in the headlights, thinking, "Oh my God." And at the point, I thought, this is the moment you should move. This chimp just fired straight up into the air. I was watching this thing because it was just rising higher and higher in the air. The blue sky turned to black as this thing landed on me, and then started going to town on me. It pinned me down to the floor. I was pinned to the floor, and it was like a drummer in a rock band. Its fist coming down onto me. It was tearing chunks out of me. And it was mental, absolutely mental. And I'm lay there, and I can remember thinking, I'm going to die. I'm going to die unless I do something. I'm going to die. And it was in that moment that I knew that I had to take a step into further discomfort for any chance of living that day. Okay. So I managed to sort of move my body just a few inches, and I dislodged the chimp. I managed to get my knee up to my chest. I kicked the chimp in the chest, and it just gave me a couple of feet just to get away. And then this chimp gets back to its feet, and it's coming at me. Final attack. Now it's got blood dripping from its teeth. It was my blood. And then it came at me, and then a chain caught it around the neck just before it got to me. And I was stood there, 10-year-old, absolutely in a state of shock. My arm was like a bone that had been chewed by a dog all afternoon. It was just a mess, It's like it'd been ripped apart. There was blood all over me, and it wasn't a good sight. The whole place erupted, and then they got me off to hospital as quickly as possible, where they stitched me up, and that was that. Really, that was the attack that happened at 10 years old. And yeah,
mate, it sounds like something out of a movie.
Mate, well, when I look back, it's sometimes it's hard for me to actually understand. It wasn't until recently, and I talk about this in the book, that I opened up that chapter in my life again. But always looking back up until that moment, it was like a movie in my head. It was, yeah.
Have you got any scars from when it happened that you can still see that are visible?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my arm here, which you can't really see. I mean, that's the scar. That's the big scar there. I mean, it's healed up a lot, but that there's a big chunk that's gone out of that there. So I've lost no function in my arm, but yes, I mean the scars really were the ones you can't see, but I always look back on that, and I understand now, looking back, that when something happens like that in your life, you can't we naturally lock away the intimate emotional detail. We just do that. That's the way we're wired. But you need to address that, and to think you can have something like that happen to you and that not affect your life, especially 10 years old, is absolutely is naive.
Well, man, scars are proof that you're stronger than whatever tried to kill you. And that's true for both internal and external,